Jack Devine coming to you. Another episode of Office Hours. Today we're gonna talk about me and my uncle, and I don't mean my Uncle Brian or my uncle. I mean the band Grateful Dead song written by John Phillips while he wasn't busy raping and whomping and pillaging. Apparently wrote a song that the Grateful Dead decided to play probably more than any other song, especially its openers. This was one hell of a popular song for Bobby. I am of the, by the way, welcome to the world of nerdy guitar strap height, but well, there it is. I'm of the mind that me and my uncle is best played on a humbucking guitar, but I've grown weary of bringing two instruments and having to carve out two spaces with another guitar player. So I play this still in the middle position here. All right, and so tunes out of E minor, kind of, or G major, whatever you want to think of it as. But I mean, same series of notes. I tend to think of it more from a minor perspective. Pardon me while I wheel and deal over here to the YouTube thing and get up my channel here. Probably make some noise inadvertently. What we're looking to do is, if in my band, I like the older version of me and my uncle, circa 71. Kind of a, whoops, there's me talking there. In my band, goodbye, you hearing you. All right. Good morning, Stratomacaster. I see you tuning in. I am of the mindset that the best version of this song I've ever heard is the version off of You Just Found My Channel. Hey, nice to see you. You enjoy myself. So, I like the old gutsy version where the band had some sack. I like it when the Grateful Dead were playing music that had a little bit more energy than most of the versions that you see of this in the 80s. And I definitely don't like it where it goes that whole little, like, that's kind of cornball to me. I like it more when it's right, kind of more like a vamp over the E minor. Garcia's playing usually on the neck pickup or in the split sound of an SG or something like that. It seems like on the versions that I like, more the old stuff. Skull and Roses version, okay? So I definitely quote some of that because I can't. It's kind of like if you're playing Stairway to Heaven in a band and you don't go or whatever that opening lick is, or end it going, you're not really doing the song justice if somebody's coming to see your band play. I just love this opening lick. So it's, I play it here. That, although it sounds really good right there. All right, it's just that most of the solo that I play takes place up here. And this is one that I kind of have figured out because, frankly, I like to keep it short and tight, and I want it to be potent. So, like songs like that, where I only take one go around, I only want one go around, I don't want to spend 9 minutes jamming me and my uncle. Sorry, I like the song, don't get me wrong, but we largely do it as a way of creating the proper arc to the set. And also it's an easy song that everybody knows and can warm up on. So usually it'll be like second or third or maybe fourth in the first set. All right. And it's up tempo. That's another good thing. So it gets people up and moving. All right. So I've set up a little two-step kind of boom, boom, boom bass line for this. Chords are G major down to E minor. So you want to be using these kinds of we're just basically going back and forth, G to E minor, and then going boom to A major, E minor, E7. All right, and the bass is just doing kind of an oompa kind of thing. Do you ever think that the Grateful Dead weren't effectively an electrified bluegrass band? Think again. All right, so if we've got that happening here and we're looking for the placement of that first line, right, then we bend up from D to E. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Something like that. All right, I'm looking for tight, sharp, funky, rhythmic, and basically easy. I want it to be, I know where I'm at in terms of my abilities to focus and really get into a flow state. I need some shit that's content that's I've already memorized and kind of got under control, because chances are I'm still a little jittery from starting off. And if you think that you're gonna walk up and be on stage and be where you are in the middle of the second set during the third song, brother, I got some news for yous. It ain't gonna happen for you like that, okay? Thank you so much for chiming in. I'm so stoked that you guys are liking the channel and what I'm bringing to the table here. I don't really have too much of a drum to beat or a soapbox to stand on, other than I like older Grateful Dead, where Garcia was actually playing through an amp, not a Macintosh. And I like when he was playing on like a store-bought guitar, like an SG or a Les Paul Special with the staple, or a custom with the staple pickup, or a fucking Strat. I like that stuff more than what happens once the Wolf gets into the mix and the amp disappears and the Macintosh shows up and everybody just goes fucking haywire with the alembic guitars and stuff like that. So for me, my adoration for the band starts to wane around 77, and then like there's only a few great songs in my opinion after that. I have friends who are in tribute bands that consistently will attest to the 70s being a rehearsal for the 80s, and as much as I love those people and appreciate the time I've spent on stage with them, you're fucking wrong. One drummer, no Donna, that's it. Sorry. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. Okay, anyway, all that preferential stuff aside, we're coming up here, we're playing out of this E minor pentatonic shape, and we're gonna be thinking about 1, 2, 3, 4, G, E, G, right? And they're the same, so it's the same series of notes, so it's real easy to get turned around, all right? So I suggest if you're finding that your Me and My Uncle doesn't have the punch and the clarity that you're looking for, think about what's happening. If you're playing out of these shapes, right, you're playing out of your, kind of right here in this G major pentatonic or E minor pentatonic sound that's all Dickie Betts and early Garcia sound. Right, you really want to take the time to make sure that you realize when you're playing over the G chord that you're thinking about things here. And when you're thinking about the E chord, you're finally going to include the E note. And then we're going to basically go back and forth between the G and the E until we finally come up and grab that C sharp or the A or the E. Any of the three primary tones that we're going to want to hear, the triad of the A chord, when we go just about halfway. If we don't address that, we're definitely not, we're just going to sound like we're wailing still in there. We need to kind of change up the rule book right there. And at the very end, we toggle back minor 1, 5, back to 1. G, E. It's just really straight up oompa oompa, right? So boom, boom, boom. So that kind of sound where we're kind of arpeggiating is a little too sophisticated for me. I like it a little bit faster and a little bit gnarlier. But if you're thinking about it, that's what you can do. All right, here's a couple of the ideas that I do pretty consistently, actually. And sorry if you come see me and I play basically what I'm about to show you. I don't make up every solo on the spot. I don't. I keep a lot of shit kind of not scripted, but definitely I know my moves. All right, there's some choreographed shit for sure, and that'll lead us to the last part of the title of today's office hours is why your band sounds shitty. It's that you think you can just fucking keep making it up on the spot. It is not like that. If 5 people think, hey, guess what? Throughout the rule book, let's make it up every time. That is not what the Grateful Dead did. If you think that, don't drink that Kool-Aid. That is not true. Maybe over the arc of the band, things seem unarranged or inconsistent, especially compared to bands like the Eagles or Pink Floyd or shit like that. But when you think about what's happening is very slowly the band is evolving and changing and kind of moving. It's a moving target what they were after all these years. Okay, but right here, that run in '71, that Manhattan Center run that they did, man, it's great stuff. Oof, pardon me. Too much coffee, I think. I had to wake up for the 5:30. My son had to be on the pool deck today. All right, so I do that little thing. Bend up. Chromatically. Something like that. So so basically that's what I'm doing there. That one. Those are all upbeat. Everything else has been kind of downbeat heavy, right? So I just kind of like to switch that up. Come into that. All right, then I grab this little quote off of the Skull and Roses version that I mentioned before. Go here. That's kind of a stinker of a weird, that flat 5 kind of pokes out at you pretty, right? And I just kind of hit it with confidence. Right, then I do this little move where if you don't know it, you're missing out. There's meat on the bone if you don't know this idea of going. All right, we're fretting the E, and then we're going to pull off to 1 fret behind on the middle finger. And we're going to be able to approach the tone that we're interested in from underneath and give it some wiggle so that rather than going sharp from the desired pitch into, starting on E and going towards F, we're actually on E and relaxing it towards E flat. It's more of a release rather than going north of the pitch. We're under it, and we're bending in like that. So you'll see 2, 3. Something like that. that's going to be our last little bit of information we're really going to want to hone in on is this B7 sound. So we're going E, B7, back to E. So whenever we see the 1, that's our E minor, right? Is a minor chord. And it goes to a 5 dominant sound, right? That does open up the door for a little bit of theory to creep in there. And if you follow me, I think you might find it an interesting sound. I don't hear Garcia necessarily doing this. I think he kind of more looks at it like he plays this chromatic idea of going. So that would be E minor 7. Then he kind of does that. I take it a little further with my little theory brain, and I add this little, this kind of B7 sound with the flat 2, kind of a pseudo diminished sound. Oh boy, I'm getting blown up. Not yet. Sorry about that, guys. All right. My world is going on in 2 different fields at once, so I appreciate you guys being patient with me here. All right. So this idea here where we're going. I'm already bent 1, and then I'll go. Moving towards the there, so I'll go. All right, so that's the idea of the line. Let's see if I can do it here. 1, 2, 3. Whoops, I gotta start the loop on time. To be pretty rock solid, pretty consistent. I will loop that before we play Me and My Uncle. I will practice that. I don't keep my Me and My Uncle chops up particularly. Not like the same way I try to make sure that slip knot is always in shape. Okay. Me and My Uncle, I can wing it. I just like it more when I'm kind of more like a pop guitar player with a preset amount of work already under my undercarriage girding me, so that while I know where it's going to be in the set, I know where I'm going to be at that point in time. I'm going to be a fucking mess. The problem with performing is that there's so much hurry up and wait, and then the band that's on before you is invariably late in getting off. Club owners there, the sound man's being a prick. There's already people there. Everybody wants to say hi to you. You're dealing with there's something wrong with the keyboards, or there's something wrong with the drums, or you got all your stuff to set up. It's really difficult to keep a level head, do all that stuff, and then look like a roadie for 20 minutes in front of everybody that came to see you play, and then turn around and be like, "Hi, how's it going? You're here to watch me entertain you." It's kind of it's hard to kind of shift gears for me sometimes, I gotta say. And as much as I love performing, it is a lot of work. I mean, you'll find yourself maybe on stage for 3 or 4 hours, right? Or 3 hours, let's say, with an hour of travel to and from. And then they want you there an hour or 2 before. And then you usually want to hang out an hour afterwards and maybe have a beer and chat with people. So pretty much a full day of a big chunk, maybe 8 hours of time is gobbled up by this event, of which you're probably going to get paid $200-300 for the all five of you if you're in a fully fledged thing. That is not a lot of money for that amount of time. And now it's not about the money. That's not why I perform. I perform because it feeds my soul and makes me happy. And it is really a spectacular thing to be able to share this music with enthusiastic people. It's not about the money. But it would be nice if there was more of it there, because then it would look better to people that don't understand that you go, like my wife will say, like, what are you doing? It's 8 hours of your day. You could be working at your job, or whatever, or anything. You do whatever you want to do, but not that. That's not, they're not respecting your time and expertise enough. The truth is, musicians in New York have been paid the same since the 30s. I mean, gig in the Cotton Club was 50 to $100 a man. So it's basically what it was then without accounting for inflation. Right now, I wish I was in the position where I am with some of the other gigs I have booked this summer, where I can actually give my players $300 a man. That feels good. That feels really good as a band leader to be able to do that. So let's talk a little bit about this idea, okay? What am I doing? I'm doing this bending here where I'm going, right, I'm bending from A chromatically up to the B, because that's where right? So that's the G going chromatically up to A, and then we're going to chromatically connect to, that's the fifth of the E minor chord we're going to, and the root of the chord we're going to next. So that move of sounds like it gives a lot of tension, okay? And then you can quote the Skull and Roses thing, which I think is like that. Okay, my uncle started winning, Cowboys got sore, something like that, okay? So, I addressed some of my favorites, and that's my kind of fancy pants thing at the end there. If you did and that's all I really have to say about me and my uncle. You don't really want to be doing too much during the verse while it's happening here. You want to basically be a little broken up and quiet, and probably be doing this kind of was bad. That was not a great version of it. That's a 10 o'clock in the morning version. All right. So my main advice to you is don't play it squeaky clean. Super clean, it lacks balls. This song is kind of rocking. You want to rock it up a little bit. If you end up with those, if you want to take two, go ahead, but be prepared to. I mean, I run out of steam, frankly. If I start out and come in all that version, it's already high octane. I kind of like the Elliot Easton hit it and quit it mode there that I'm rocking. All right. So not sure if anybody else is digging that, but that's how I approach me and my uncle, and I think it's silly to devote a second chorus of solos to it personally. It's not that fascinating a song. Great story. Good opportunity for the band to kind of get loose and warmed up and rock out and kind of blow the dust off a little bit. All right. So what am I doing here? I've got basically the same sound. All right. Now I don't know about you guys, but I'm using a digital system here where there's the actual opportunity to add just pure level, right? Like not a clean boost that drives the amp a little harder, but the exact same sound, just like somebody raised up a fader 4 or 5 dB. That's what I'm doing for my solo boosts. Here, I'm just playing that kind of sound with the volume down to cream it up a little bit. This is wired like a traditional Strat. Okay, so as you roll it down, it gets a little darker and cleaner. It's not like the treble bleed circuits that are so popular these days. This is old school, all right? And the only thing that isn't going on in this guitar that's pretty against brand is that these are hum canceling pickups. Larger frets. These are 6100s, but they've been ground down a bunch. These have been in the guitar for maybe 20 years or so. For example, when I got this guitar, it had none of this fretboard. Well, a little bit. Like it had one little thing up here and a couple little bald patches back here. But all that's me for 20 years or whatever. 19 years or something. All right, so I'm also playing out of the, pardon me, there's my RFK voice. That's the middle pickup, but there's no tone circuit involved. So however bright my amp is kind of dictated by that. That pickup, I put it to as bright as I can handle it before I'm like, too much, Daddy, make it stop. All right. So that's how I grapple with my me and my uncle. First of all, I make it short. I make it rockin', and I make it an opportunity, since I don't sing the song, I give myself a little bit of a breather. All right. I'm really fortunate in that my bandmates are super strong players, and in particular, the rhythm guitar player in our band is a very strong singer, and he's new to the band, so we're unfolding more and more opportunities for him to sing, and I can't thank him enough for taking some of the burden off of me. A younger guy, but man, he's got a really great voice and is just a sweetheart of a dude to work with. So Lawrence, if you're out there, which I doubt you are, you hang out with me all the time or rehearse with me, why would you? You're not going to learn any more from me here than you do when we work together. All right. Anyway, that's all that's going on me and my uncle. Let's talk a little bit about the rest of my title here. Gigging tips. First and foremost, stay calm when you gig. Try to be chill. You're going to have an adrenaline spike when you go and hoist all your gear up onto the stage. Try to stay level-headed. Try not to do stupid things that you don't normally do, like unplug your guitar just a little bit so that it doesn't make any noises, and then you forget that you did that at the amp, and then you're wondering why you can't get any sound. That's happened to me, okay? Don't do silly things like turn down the master volume on the return on the back of your amp if you're using an effects loop that you can't see, or change something that, like a small detail that totally undoes your entire rig. Okay, don't do any of that wacky stuff. try to just get a good clean signal up and running quickly, and then take a breather, and then make sure everything is how you want it, okay? Especially cable placement. Don't forget around, don't fuck up with this. Don't give it straight out so I can step on it and pull it out in the opening song. Again, been there, done that, all right? And I don't know about you, but if you can, get your guitars out before you take the bandstand, okay? Give them a chance to wake up, all right? They are gonna be cold. They're not gonna behave like they do after the third or fourth song, all right? So get them warmed up a little bit, play on them a little bit, get yourself warmed up. I don't know about you. Again, I'm getting older. My hands are taking longer and longer to wake up. I will often take one or two Advil just to help with it. You know, if I have any like any kind of joint issues or anything like that, joint. And the other thing I would suggest is if your hands get cold when you get a little nervous, all right, there's a double whammy that you can do. Go get either tea or just hot water in a ceramic mug and have them heat it up at the venue. Or if they don't, if you know that you're not going to have that, bring a thermos, all right, and a little mug. It's the best thing for you. If you're the singer, you're going to want to basically, you just put a cup in your hand and it'll warm up your hand without making your calluses get wet and soft. So your hand will get red, and because the blood will flow there. Very good for that. It's going to warm up your hand, your muscles. You're not going to be cold on song number one. And you can also give it a good little chug-a-lug, you know, between to just kind of clear off your throat, warm up your body from the inside out. I promise you, these tips have actually served me quite well over the years, especially that mug thing. That mug thing has saved my ass so many times, especially on cold outdoor gigs. If you can find a cafe nearby, get a large hot water, put a little lemon in it or whatever. But the point is to basically have a little space heater you can put your hands on, because once you, if they never are warm and you hit the stage and it's cold, you're gonna cramp up or feel like clammy. It's a terrible feeling. Okay, I played a gig at Margate. They have a Cherry Blossom Festival, and the weekend before that, I played this thing called Bayfest down in southern Jersey. Again, right on the water. So there's a big, strong headwind. It's 40 fucking degrees outside. I'm wearing two down jackets while I'm playing with these guys. It's the first time I ever played with some of the people that I was playing with. A really impossible gig. Just super tough to. I mean, I think if I was gonna, I mean, when I like sitting down when I practice sitting down until it comes time to actually, you know, rehearse with the band. You know, depending on how long the rehearsal's going. Sometimes we don't get a lot of rehearsals. So if I know I've got a 6-hour rehearsal, which definitely if my guys are so generous with their time, and we'll basically meet up and just kind of do it all at once and go through everything a couple times that we don't know. We can all kind of take inventory about where we know the bodies are buried. Like, I'm a little hazy on that little spot. We'll spend a lot of time really working on that, or background vocals or something like that. And so a lot of the time we'll just, so that we're not fatigued, we'll sit down while we rehearse. We turn the volume down. We don't want to beat up our ears and all that stuff. But I gotta say that if you don't I mean, I've been doing this longer than a lot of you have probably been alive. So, I mean, I'm 55 on April 20th this year. Okay, so if you guys want to wish me a happy birthday, it's coming up. So there you go. The bottom line is, if I've been playing, I've had a guitar under my arm for 45 fucking years. All right. I love this instrument. I love what it's given me. I love what it, I'm upset a little bit by what it's taken from me in terms of some personal relationships and the cost there. But the truth is I have very few regrets about playing so much guitar over the years. It's been wonderful. I'm lucky, and I was fortunate enough to come from an affluent enough family that, you know, my parents supported my interests and stuff like that. I had nice gear growing up. Everybody kind of understood I was going to go into music. They took pity on me. They helped support me a little bit. Everything worked out in the end, but it was touch and go for a little bit, for sure. All right, so, you know, the idea of playing standing, all right, you should definitely be playing standing a lot if you're a young student. It's also good for maintaining the proper posture. A lot of my students, they play like this because the temptation is to look at the guitar and they're hunched over. And then they end up like, they end up practicing looking at their hands. It's better if you can to practice in a mirror, right? And I know it seems vain, right? But the truth is, look forward while you play, and then all you have to do is practice playing. Let's say we were playing something like that. Right, kind of do like a New Minglewood Blues kind of changes, just kind of getting a feel for where things are and not looking down at your hand, just playing. Right, if you can, you try to play not looking at your, practice looking ahead while you play, especially if your intention is to perform. I understand if you're like a year and a half, 2 years into your journey. Hey man, you got to just figure out how to just play the right notes. But after a while, you should be able to hear what you're doing and kind of close your eyes and open your ears a little bit more. Yeah. Not looking, just listening and feeling it. Like I'm trying to close my eyes and do that shit. It is not so that I can look cool on stage. It's actually ear training and muscle memory, and you're trying to hone in on what are the what are the what biofeedback are you getting from the guitar to inform you as to where you are on the instrument. That's a huge part of being a better guitar player, because let's say you're playing and something distracts you, or you need to actually communicate with somebody, like going up to, hey, don't forget, we got to go, we're doing here at the end of this song, right? But you're sitting there playing. You're sitting there, got to keep that groove and be like, hey, by the way, blah 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 blah. Don't forget, at the end of New Minglewood, we're gonna hold the E minor chord and take it into the other one, or whatever. There's a lot of times where I'm talking to people on stage, and the ability to kind of ignore what's happening here and just be playing. That's a very nice sensation to be able to have. All right. So, last but not least, let's talk about why your band. Hey, good morning, Ramsey. It's good to see you, sir. Um, I'll see you tomorrow, Wednesday. I'll see you on Wednesday. Got. No. What's going on here? I don't understand what happened there. This is weird. Whenever my phone rings, it cuts off. What is the magic button to press to make it come back to life? Huh. How's that? Is that better? Jesus. Why does the world have to go to hell in a handbasket just because of fucking phone call? Pardon me. Does that work better? This is embarrassing. This is what happens with, that's what happens when old people try to take to the airwaves. All right, so. All right, I'm getting conflicting. I'm going to assume that I fixed it because I pressed the microphone button. Yep, it works. Great. I'm so sorry, everybody. My son obviously felt the need to interrupt me, but now it's not going to happen. So good. All right, hopefully nobody calls. All right, sorry about that. Let's talk a little bit about why your band sounds bad. All right. And I'm going to assume that you play with people and you want to know why it doesn't sound as good as it can. I'm so glad for this. All right. So my thought is this. The most common driver I have found over the years for bands sounding like shit is drummers that hit too hard. Okay? Drummers that there's 2 or 3 of them that I can think of. Drummers that hit too hard, and in particular hit their cymbals as hard as they hit the drums. If you're going, drums, like actual drums, love to be hit hard. But if you treat a cymbal like it's a drum, you've got real problems, all right? Real issues. Because what ends up happening is all the high-end information from like, say, like 2K all the way up to like 15K just turns into this. And it's just impossible for anybody to poke through the mix with that going on. So if you can, you want to find drummers that A, know how to make the drum kit itself sound mixed evenly, right? So people who are like bash, bash, bash on the ride cymbal, first things first, you say, sorry, dude, whatever you're doing, that is not it. That's not it. Let's take the metal and turn it way down. If you can't hit the snare drum hard and the kick drum hard, but hit the ride cymbal and the hi-hat gently, you've got problems as a drummer. So when that kind of player is in the room with me, man, it's like already there's less space for my guitar at low volumes. So what ends up happening? We end up turning up, then the drummer feels vindicated, and then there's more competition again, and it just starts this awful cycle. And it usually starts with an irresponsible drummer. The drummer has the loudest acoustic instrument in the room, undeniably so. So you want to formulate the blend of your band around the resting good qualities of the kick drum and the snare drum when hit with enough gusto to be enjoyable, right? I mean, this is a loud game, all right? But you've got to be able to talk openly and honestly with your bandmates and tell them, hey, dude, back off on the metal on the kit. You're eating up all the high end, and that makes everybody else have to brighten up their sound and turn up and be louder to compete/beat you, all right? In the hierarchy of things, we don't want to hear a super drum heavy mix with the guitar sounding wimpy. Like, you want to hear a lot of beefy drums, sure, but not a lot of crispy cymbals, all right? That's why your band sounds bad. Is the first thing, is there's usually the snowball that starts rolling down the hill, gathering more and more snow on it, making it fucking huge, is the cymbals. Oh my God. So look for tired, mellow cymbal work out of a drummer. That is the thing I like the most. Nice and chill cymbals. Ugh. All right. Number 2, if you've got a keyboard player and that left hand of his is fucking crazy, always involved. Oh, I have 2 hands. That old meme, I've seen it 100 times, or picture. I remember just being literally of blue painter's tape, okay, over top, okay, like this, over the lowest octaves on the keyboard, saying we have a bass player. It's written there on it. It's really clever because it's true. Double octaves with the chord down low. All of a sudden, it's just like, you ever play this kind of chord, like, and you're like, wow. But then you go a little lower, and all of a sudden it stops sounding like a B flat. It doesn't sound like a B flat chord anymore. It sounds more like an F suspended 4. But here, That's about as low as I like to go. The Weezer C sharp is pretty good though. Or that's also was that Bush tune that. Right, that killer with the My Hero. That's a pretty good sound when you get the 5 underneath. But too much bass and big, long, sustained bass notes out of the keyboard, use with caution, okay? Same with your bass player. If your bass player is sitting there going boom, boom, and riding the low octave all the time down here, that is not where Phil is playing, and he's not playing long, sustained notes often, all right? So the typical approach of a lot of musicians when they get involved with a Grateful Dead band is they may not have been in that situation before. And so they'll bring their general rock approach to what they think is, a rock band. But when you look at the way Billy played drums, he's pretty earthy. He's more of like a jazzy blues guy, like, big, kind of wide open, but lightly struck, lightly struck toms. Not a lot of muting on the kit. All right. If you can get away with no muting, great. If you can't, fine. Fuck it. I don't care. Put tea towels all over the place. It still sounds great when they're dead. If you want to hit them and they go boom, 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 that sounds good. But those cymbals, got to keep them chill. Keep the low end. Figure out who does what. You've got a bass player. Don't need the left hand on the keyboard so much. And the keyboard player doesn't have to play the whole song as if he's the only guy playing the song. He needs to figure out like a little part. So you want there to be like one guy going, and then another guy on a cleaner sound going, like not a lot going on, but the two together form a whole thing. And then the piano has to be, again, just being more like maybe there, or maybe zigging and zagging. Figure out who's generally playing with the 2 and the 4, or who's on 1 and 3. Okay, Bob is a master of not being where Jerry is. He's perfect at that. Okay, look at what's going on in Scarlet Begonias. That's a great example. That's really dope. All right, it's just like big ears on Bob there. Sounds awesome. All right, so those are the main things that I can think of. Also, if you're playing guitar, always going chicka chicka chicka. Don't do that. Don't do that. It shouldn't be. And you don't want to be going across all 6 strings. No. You want to be thinking like when I play, I swear to God, sometimes when I'm playing, I'm literally going, I had a home run. Running from your window. Barely doing anything. My job is to sing. My job is to sing right in there, not to be going, hitting all 6 strings. Is too much, way too much. You've got 5 fingers on that one hand. You got to think about it. What am I doing? What is he doing? Da, 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 da. And pretty soon there's no space left. And if you're on top of each other in terms of the rhythm, the frequencies that you occupy, all right, or just being just generally inconsistent, those are the other things. Right? What's going on? Let's look at the Swiss clock that is China Cat Sunflower. That's one of my favorite things to talk about. All right, we're gonna ditch that. All right, let's just look at the way this interacts. Okay, 3, 4. Now let's look at what's going on. Bob doing. There are different registers, different sounds, different guitars. Frankly, I mean, I like to, when I make up loops and stuff like that, I will often take the time to get out the 335 to do the Bobby parts. when I want to practice and stuff like that. Jacksnax, that's correct. Guitar for everybody. What's up, guys? So sorry about the technical difficulties earlier there with the phone call. But all right, so those are the reasons why your band probably sounds like, all right, that, and you might just also be playing with people that are playing the songs incorrectly. This is another thing that plagues our tribe. Is there is, and then they're well-meaning. These people are well-meaning, but there is an abundance of terrible legacy tablature available thanks to the kind people who are trying their best to tell you what was going on in this music back when Are You Kind was available. And then all of a sudden, all these other sites steal that information that is incorrect and repopulate it. And it's kind of like the way that I was a musicology and English major. I cannot fucking believe that the world has decided to adopt and officially accept irregardless as a word. It is not a word. That was never a word. But so many people said irregardless that rather than just saying regardless, which is, it's hello, Department of Redundancy Department, hello. There's no reason for you to say irregardless. That's not a real word. Just say regardless. All right? So for all intensive purposes, is now becoming somehow an accepted phrase. It's retarded. And I'm sorry, I'm old. That's what we said. So I'm old man yelling at the clouds. All right? Be careful with those tabs. They aren't accurate. Just because you read it doesn't make it true. It's not the way it's actually done. Oh my God, there's this lovely group of guys that have put together a songbook, and they've called the internet and they've found all this stuff. When you're playing Big River, oh, is somebody clapping or somebody telling me to back up? I can't tell what that means. It's Big River, right? We're hearing, I told the weeping willow how to cry, cry, cry. Caught the clouds out of cover up. What's the next chord, everybody? What's the next chord, everybody? Clear blue sky. Too dominant. I've sat in with bands, they've got the sheet music up there, they're going down the river. It's gone, boy, she's gone. They're all playing D major over literally the fucking worst chord choice of all time. I don't know whose tin ear decided to transcribe that and create that and put that in the Deadstein songbook, okay? But as much as I love those guys for taking the time to actually put things together and make a resource for people, which is a good thing, make sure you vet those songs that they're actually transcribed properly. Okay. I speak the truth. Okay, so old man shouts at clouds no longer. Let's actually see if there's some Q&A from the kind folks that are out there now that I've pounded on my little soapbox here. What scale should I learn for soloing after the basic minor pentatonic? You should realize that you have already learned the most important scale for this kind of music by learning the minor pentatonic, but that you've been using this side of the coin instead of that side of the coin. So you've spent your whole life sitting there going like this, playing C sharp minor. Right? You're playing. But what you really need to do is realize that what you should have been doing was realizing that you were playing. pentatonic is what you've been studying and not realized, okay? That's what you need to work on, all right? Is figuring out that's where all that good Garcia goodness starts from. Now, from there, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to modify any and all of those licks to accommodate more modally specific, and that's kind of sounds erudite. It's basically one step closer of specificity in terms of the theory that's going on some of these songs, right? So basically, you're already doing the bulk of the work. You're just thinking about it from the yin rather than from your yang. Okay. Hello, ladies. So my idea is how do I fluently change? Okay, let's talk about that. It's pretty easy. Let's talk. Let me get a good loop here going. Okay. So let's stick with that going down the road thing. Whoa, overdrive. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we've got a little major pentatonic playground, basically. We've got E major pentatonic. Then A major pentatonic. Back to E major. Back to A. Back to E. All we have to do is hit that C sharp minor and then hit its root pretty much on the downbeat of the chord change. And then we make one more change and we're playing and going down the road feeling bad pretty well. Then we would have to go E. And then over the B chord. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, first we learn a couple of licks. Let's just take this little lick. Okay, so that's basically that Lester flat G run I keep talking about. I'm using flat thirds on the way down and on the way up. Right, but I'm not really playing bluesy until the very end there. I'll hit that D. All right, and then we could do the same exact thing. All right, now if we do that, it's going to sound a little janky, right? Because it's the same exact thing, right? Just brought up. But if we find another place to play it, like there, we're going to find the idea has to be framed slightly differently. It has to accommodate the neighborhood of the neck, right? Because we've got these tuning anomalies that kind of help break things up for us. If we're aware enough of the system of the guitar, we can use it to our advantage, right? So if we're going... Now over top of the A, I could go... Right, I'm going to target the third of the E when I go back to it. Let's hear what that sounds like. 1, 2, 3, 4. Basically playing the same ideas just in different registers of the guitar, and I've kind of broken these licks apart into these 4 basic food groups that I've talked about endlessly on any of these, how to make how to build your vocabulary, the resting bitch face of the jam band guitar player, Mount Rushmore licks, the rice licks, the pasta licks. They've come, the devil has many names, I'll tell you. All right, so Mephistopheles or Beelzebub, however you want to frame it, these 4 licks are all over the place. They are, in no particular order, the lesser flat G run. All right, I'm learning how to play it there, or right, utilizing that, and then learning a way back, usually. And you're gonna hear that sound, that regional dialect. Right, we want to learn how to do it here. So that's out of the E chord shape here, and an A chord shape. And we can learn it here. That's out of that D chord, C chord shape, B chord. So, right, and we want to know those shapes out of the D chord shape. We could do that, or so be, or we could. All right, so once you know how to play that up and down, then move on. Next little lick I like to do is this Parker enclosure, this idea. That's from the pinky, then learn it here. Then learn the middle finger, index finger, and then onto the G string. Again, so learn the same idea everywhere, so that no matter where you are, when you hear that sound in your head, you can get to it from any one of these 4 little stupid meat hooks. Okay. The other one is called an ascending Parker. Okay, so that's coming here on the root and then walking up. Okay, that's the B string from its 3rd all the way up to there. So, and the last but not least is this, starts on the flat 3 and goes up or comes down. So here, I'll play that last one because it's fresh in your mind. 1, 2, 3, 4. Basically, I just kept running through the same licks over each of those major chords, all right? And basically, once you learn all of them in all 5 chord positions, C, A, G, E, and D, against all the major 1, 4, and 5 chord progression, you're going to basically be in the position where you're going to have a lot of variety within this little kind of subgroup of licks. right? These pasta licks. And then pretty soon they'll start to expand and contract and kind of make babies with one another. And you get the head of one and the tail of the other, that kind of thing. And it starts to create your own vocabulary a little bit. It's kind of like a starter for a sourdough bread or something. You take a little bit of the other, you put it in there, and it makes more. And you just keep going with that. And over a couple of years, you'll end up with a better understanding about how to play through chord changes. And you won't be hitting any of the fancy pants modal notes, really. You're playing the 1, 3, and 5 the bulk of the time. But that's pretty much what we want to hear anyway. And then we've got a couple of NPC kind of non-player characters in the 2 and the 6. They offer a great deal of ease. It's kind of like a nice. It's not quite as rich as the 1, 3, and 5. Right? Those are really empowering notes. You want to have someplace you can pass the ball to for a moment and cleanse the palate, and then come back to something that means something. So without going right. We like that too, if I'm in the key of G. So that's the 6 and the 9 right there. Those are huge, important notes to have at your disposal. And anything past that, you're going to potentially sound clammy. The reason is that where the rubber meets the road in the 3 major modes of the 1, 4, and 5 chord, those are going to be the Ionian, Lydian, and Mixolydian major scales, is they all share those 5 notes that we're talking about. That's the major pentatonic. So past that, you're going to add a 7th or a 4th that's bespoke to each of those modes, right? So the first mode has a perfect 4th and major 7. That's the sound that you hear during Eyes of the World. The Lydian sound is a raised 4th and a major 7. That's the sound you hear during the Lydian jam at the end of Cassidy, or throughout all of Terrapin, when you hear that. Right, and then Mixolydian is what you hear during, like, I Know You Rider or something like that, where you're hearing, or very, very indicative of the Garcia sound in the 70s, which, I mean, a lot of us love. Okay. Joey Jams a lot, or Jams LOL, says, you wish you could download my wisdom. Well, you basically have it. It's here. All you have to do is just watch this a couple of times and start thinking about what's going on. The sooner you understand what you're shooting for, the sooner you can kind of carve to set the angel free from the block of stone that is all this notes. But the truth is, there's only 12 of them. There really are only 12 notes. And if I'm giving you 5 of them that sound great, that means the other 7 are definitely usable. But they're like, those aren't what the bulk of your music should be made up from, right? You're gonna need to learn to break out from thinking about it like I'm using all 12 tones all the time. That's just not feasible at first, in my opinion. I don't think about wrong notes anymore. I don't really think about the wrong notes so much as too long spent on any one note, because any note can sound good just by virtue of hearing this. If you heard, just we've literally played every note along the way and it doesn't bother anybody. It's just how long you're on it, right? If I play the wrong note for too long, if I play a note for so long that it bothers you, then it's the wrong note, all right? Shot in the dark, but do I have any tips for Bobby Tone? Absolutely. First thing is don't play it. I mean, although he's been using a Strat, but granted, that's not. While he might be playing a Strat these days, let's be blunt about our friend Bobby Weir. He's a beautiful and fascinating character, but I think tonally speaking, his best days are behind him, all right? As powerful and influential as he is, as fantastic as he is, an elder statesman, an emeritus member of he's the paterfamilias of the Grateful Dead legacy. All right, his sound is not what it used to be. All right, so what am I looking at right now? I've basically got a Fender Blackface. This is a deluxe reverb and a little too much treble, a little too much treble, and a little too much reverb. But I kind of like that. So I think I still have the loop from China Cat in there. So let's talk a little bit about that. So the dual humbucking era for him is where it's at for me. That kind of sweeter, darker sound that you get out of that kind of that. That's with the tone down on 6. If I come up to 8, we'll start to hear a little bit more clarity. A little bit more. Go into the middle pickup. We'll get a little bit more of that clucky kind of. All right, that high E string. All right, 335s do this weird thing where the bottom, all right, and by the way, Bob actually kind of magnified that by string choice, okay? I'll talk to you a little bit about what's going on. These are round wound strings. This is just like standard 10s, okay? If you listen to the high-end content and the character, the timbre of the sounds, the low strings sound kind of thuddy and waxy. But up top, they get very chirpy. Okay, so when we hear that kind of, that sound of the, all right, that's happening because the 335 just has this thing going on the high strings. Listen to how much brighter and louder this is versus same register, all right? So this is not an even instrument. It has asymmetrical frequency distribution. It is bright and chimey in some spots, and same exact note. Okay, we can go all throaty and muted, a little bit more open. This is kind of like the embouchure of one's mouth, like, I've got to close. That's all nasal. Same note. That would be written on staff exactly as the same. It's just that's how befuddling the guitar is, because we have so much tonal variation across it, and this guitar and this guitar type magnifies what I like about it. All right. In addition to that, Bob took it upon himself to string his guitars with wound strings that are flat wound. Okay, that kind of take the wounds, instead of them being like a circle, they kind of turn them on their side and kind of smooth them over, kind of like old bass strings, where there isn't like this gritty kind of, that doesn't exist on Bob Weir's bass strings. They're kind of smooth, all right? And so they sound kind of muffled, all right? Even more so. So the spectrum from muffled and kind of undefined lows, all right, throaty kind of, all right. So in order to brighten up the top, to crisp up that, he turns up the treble on his amp, and then when he actually gets to play, the high end is really kind of, that kind of bright, chirpy top end with the dull, thuddy, that's the sound, right? And whether it's right or that you love that. All right. So to me, this is the guitar. This is the tool for that. All right. I think it's funny to think about people playing anything other than a humbucker, a dual humbucking Gibson for the Bobby stuff. But if you want to get into the jackknife, the black knife, and the cowboy fancy stuff with the out of phase sounds, that's kind of cool. I'd be lying if I didn't want a guitar with like the single coil. It's kind of predominantly close to the bridge pickup to create some of those out of phase 70s sounds. That's hip. And some of those modulated sounds that he was getting around starting in 74 when he got the multi-effect unit from Ibanez. Pretty sweet, all right? So when I'm doing those kinds of sounds, I'll often add a little compression and some phaser. So that would be kind of like if let's go to here. Let's see if I can find something in here that would be similar to that. If I did, I don't think I need that, but you know, you see that kind of little bit of. So if you get the what is it? Envelope filters are such a pain in the ass. If anybody's curious, I did just buy the B-Tron, the new wah wah box here. This little sucker. So if we go to brighter sound here and get rid of that flangey thingy, we'll have a better time. And you'll see that it just doesn't sound very good. It's just not that great of sound. It goes wow too fast. It's too wow. All right. And by the way, in order to get the gain setting, that means when it opens, when you dig in, right, when you pick, right, so that I can actually give it a little dynamics, what ends up happening on this, and this is that new Behringer one, the super cheap. Yeah, that sounds pretty good on its own, right? But in use, look at what happens. So that's my tone, right? But then if I was to turn it off, a huge volume drop. So I'm not quite sure how to combat that, because when I play Fire on the Mountain, for example, if I'm doing that going, where is that? It's kind of too fast, right? So I ended up doing, what do I have here? My photon is, there it is. So I find this to be a little harsh myself. I'm not really that impressed with. That's in the Kemper. I'll learn it one of these days. That one sounds a little bit better, and when I turn it off and go to the clean sound, right now, what happened? And I'm going to go off of that and go onto the octavert. Add a little overdrive to the octavert. Anyway, I love that era of effects, the Mutron era. So that to me sounds, that right there sounds like my old Mutron octave divider. Very metallic and a little gritchy and a little out of tune. Like part octave and part ring modulator. Put it on the neck pickup, roll down the tone, and add a little bit of fuzz. You get more of a synthesizer. Oh, what did I do there? Sorry, I have big sneakers on today. You know, this kind of thing. Not that he used that sound, he was more about this kind of thing. He did like that kind of thing with the tone rolled down, okay? So I sound like Rick from Goose, or just my envelope filter does. I mean, I either way, it's a flattering comparison, I promise. So back to what we were talking about. I mean, this is the Bob thing. What amp am I using? I play through a no amp. I play through a digital simulator of amps called the Profiler, made by a company called Kemper. Looks like it comes in a little gig bag, and it looks like a little foam attaché case like this, and that's the logo for the thing. It looks kind of like some weird sort of prison tower. I don't know what that is really. And then there's like a tube there, but there's no, trust me, there are no tubes in the device. I've been using it for the last 4 years or something like that. It's a nice piece of gear. No, absolutely. This isn't a modeler actually. This is, technically speaking, this is a different process for creating the sound. Modelers use digital processing and power and hardware to kind of emulate what they think tubes would do under certain in certain settings. All right. This actually is the actual amp. You need the actual piece of hardware to create a profile. The Kemper, basically, you plug the Kemper into like my old Super Bass or something like that, and you turn it on, and it takes a snapshot of the amp at the settings that it's at. And it basically, it's kind of like a sampler right? It samples the amp at all sounds, all frequencies through the amp at that specific setting. So this is the Fender Deluxe Reverb from 1964 that this guy owned or borrowed or whatever, and took a snapshot of. Now, granted, the reverb is not the spring reverb. This is plate reverb that I've added onto it. I tend to like the polish of the spring, the what do you call it? The plate reverb a little bit more. All right, kind of nice. By the way, if you're ever playing rhythm guitar and you're in a band with another guitar player and you sense you're both kind of bright, don't be afraid to like go and darken up. If you're going, right, it sounds really nice when you're kind of throaty and somebody else is going. Get that throaty sound. If they go thin and crunchy up top, you go thick. You know. All right, let's look at those bob stuff over the top of that loop again. Right, we can do. I guess we're doing. That was going down the road. All right. Do I see some other questions? So no, I find no tactile difference, particularly with the Kemper. The thing that's different about a Kemper is it sounds like a polished up recording of the amp because of how it allows you to place effects after the sound of the amp. You're working with a full range monitor. So basically, it takes the sound of the amp, gives you 4 slots to modify it, like a pedal board with 4 pedals, and then gives you effectively like a mixing console that you can add parallel or serial effects to the signal afterwards, and it creates a very polished sound. There's a couple of downsides to it. Okay, one, if it shits the bed, you can't just like bypass your pedal board and just go straight into the amp or something like that. It's never failed on me, but whatever. It's a matter of time, I'm sure. All right. Number 2. There's some interesting artifacts that occur on tube amps when you crank them up and the phase inverter on it starts to shift and kind of starts to do some swirly stuff. I like that on old non-master volume Marshall plexis and stuff like that. Some amazing sounds happen there. You don't really get that here, and in particular what you don't get here is the way the sound decays. The decay is much different on this than it is on the amps that I own. So like as it fades away, it kind of pixelates a little bit, is for lack of a better word. Like, now we're talking about you have to be right up on it. Still hasn't happened yet. There. Now I heard it go a little fart noise. It kind of happens. And then let me think what else is interesting about them. Obviously, it's only as good as the profiles that you get a hold of. So the recordings of the amp that get loaded in the machine, they kind of dictate what your palette is. I stumbled upon and really fell for the Deluxe Reverb, and it works well for the Grateful Dead stuff. I have a couple of Marshalls in there that I like. I have a fake Dumble that I've used in some stuff like that. It's really pretty nice. Sounds like it's more like playing through monitors with, I don't know what NAM or Logic is, NAM. Oh, Neural. Other than this technology is like 15 years old. So the technology is probably due for an update, and certainly the digital interface, like the visual interface sucks. It looks like Soviet era, like, want to play thermonuclear war? A global thermonuclear war reminds me of like watching war games when I was a kid. It just looks like, oh, this is what computers look like. It's very, very raw in that regard. That said, the sound is pretty on point. Some people wish there was more variety with the overdrives and effects. I'm perfectly comfortable with it. What I've realized is the better you are at playing the guitar, the less this kind of stuff can matter to you. Because I don't. I mean, I think I'm pretty good. I think I'm pretty good playing on other. I happen to just think this sounds better than my amps. I really do. It's not even like those aren't even the profiles of my amps. I like what I've found here so much. Does my No, we don't play Road Jimmy. I do like Road Jimmy, but non-slide second solo. I'm not really a big fan of Garcia's slide playing, except when he lets it do its thing on like It Hurts Me Too is pretty good. I like that. I think that's pretty cool how he gets the feedback out of it. I'm not quite sure how he does that. It's fucking fantastic. Generally speaking, Road Jimmy was not one. It was not my favorite song of theirs, and certainly not of his. There's literally hundreds of songs that I like more than Road Jimmy, and a lot of people don't like me saying that. But that's the best thing about opinions. You are entitled to yours. So, AJ de Leon. That's right, my Brooklyn friend. What Dino asked what I thought of the D'Angelico Bob Weir guitar, and that's the one with the P90 in the neck and like a couple other pickups. I think it sounds pretty, surprise, surprise, kind of bright, and it doesn't have the 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 funky monkey is taking a bathroom break, or is just got back from one. I can't tell. Everybody's chiming in here. This is nice. This is nice. You've seen an interview where he says it's his favorite to play, and yet you don't see him on stage with it that often. My thoughts on it is it sounds okay. It sounds nice and bright and chimey. That's a nice sound. I'm a missionary, man. I'm very basic. If the Strat 335 lineup, that's my favorite. Like when I hear I'm gonna say it again, Europe with Donna off stage, that's the best they ever sounded, in my opinion. That sounds great to me. And yeah, would I like it if there was a little bit more muscle in the band sometimes vis-a-vis the B3? Yeah, a little bit, but not too much. Checking in from Liverpool. Hey man, that's so cool. Alex, the bitterest boogie. Um, you know, that's amazing. That's so nice that there's people. I was thinking about going on actually much later last night. Like I was up and I was like, maybe I'll do something. My wife was upstairs asleep, sick. So rather than risk her waking up in the middle of the night while she's trying to get rest, I decided to watch Day Zero or the new thing, and ended up getting sucked in, and then went to bed too late and woke up early to take my son to the swim practice. And now I'm playing this guitar. I haven't played it in a long time. Let's see about that. Let's get a little closer here. guitar breaks up kind of nice. All right, thanks for the run through. 70s Bob is my favorite, Cody says. I kind of am inclined to agree with you. I think that that's when the band kind of grew up a little bit and kind of was fully fledged. Because when you think about it, you know, those first couple of albums, I mean, yeah, they had the right, they had the energy and the fun and all the stuff, but they were kind of better after they crashed. Like there was something about all that manic energy in the late '60s that kind of topped out in early '70 and '71, and then finally, I think it's with the introduction of Keith into, you know, once Keith joined up and started playing on the Ace sessions. I think that Garcia really started to embrace a different approach to how to perform and how to tackle a lot of music. And they started opening up their minds in a different way, not just like wild super spacey shit, but actually like how pentatonics could work in their favor. So you'll see like a lot of harmonies in their songs exist over the pentatonic scale rather than the major scale. They're not doing a lot of like tracking where they go up. They're not singing in thirds parallel that often. Not no. They're more likely to be doing things where it's like you're hearing a lot of that kind of sound, where you're hearing some thirds, but lots of where in particular, like even over top of two chords, if you're hearing, the singing isn't necessarily always clocking with the chords themselves, more as the overarching, like, oh, the sound of C major pentatonic over top of C, G, and F is really pleasing. So they kind of have like a larger sound. It sounds more open and pastoral rather than the tighter, more that kind of thing. All right. So, I mean, I just loved the 70s music because it seemed like they chilled out a little bit, but still had some lead in the pencil, so to speak, right? Because by the end of the 70s and the early 80s, man, there's some sadness going on in my years after 77. Like that, Keith really starts falling asleep. Donna's out to lunch. Two drummers going bonkers all the time. Now, granted, I'm sure you can find great nights. Yeah. But my thing is more like where were they consistently like, oh my God, if I could have seen those 15 shows in a row or something like that, you know? There's a couple of pockets, and obviously that 77 run that everybody loves, that's great stuff. There's some hot shit in 87 and 89 even. And, you know, somebody just sent me an eyes that they were like, dude, I never would have given any of this any credit, but it was like during the Vince Welnick years, and it's like, here's some great stuff. Can I give you some Deal before I take off? Absolutely. Let's talk about how to tackle Deal. So Deal seems like it's going to be an easy enough thing to understand because we're coming at it from this kind of, you know, A shuffle. All right. So let's get that. Yeah, let's see if I can set that up. Let's clear that out. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a bad B chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what do we need in order to do well over Deal? We're going to need to learn, okay, over top of the A, right? it's that same major pentatonic sound that you hear me talk about. A major pentatonic, flat 3. Right, that sound. All right, so if you want to, you can spend most of your time playing deal right out of there, and you just hunt and peck for the couple of key notes that are going to throw everybody off. All right, I tend to ramp it up a little bit past that, but that would be a good beginner approach. So if you can think about it, you want to know on what chords am I going to add the kung fu notes, the notes that kind of take it and make it applicable rather than just going. And just kind of going back and forth between. All right, which that's kind of where Garcia started out with it a lot of the time. But he would add a couple of notes. So if we go. So that's kind of what I'm seeing happening in the early 70s, okay, stuff. Because that record, that came out in 70. He and Bob both did the solo records there. All right, and so then he'll take the same ideas and just bring it up. Right, and kind of play up there with some, maybe even on the bridge pickup. Very bright and super snarky in 70s and 71. All right. That's not really where Deal ended up, though. Deal ended up more like a bebop thing when you think about it. Like, I'm talking about like fully arpeggiating chords, right? And playing through changes, not just like kind of over them with acceptable common tones, which is that approach, which is nice. But if we look at like, here's our A chord here. Right. If we start there, that's a good starting point. Right, and then we got to think that's a C sharp dominant chord. So that would be. Right, that's the major third. All right, so over top of that secondary dominant chord, we're allowed to interject a little harmonic minor there. So you can end up hearing these kinds of. Sound over that first chord change, which is probably the one that throws most people right off the buck and bronco. That's like the first. All right, so if we do. have to start thinking about things a little bit more fully fledged like that. So that's okay. Then C, F sharp minor, A major, not E, then D, and then the diminished. Okay, so that's all in. Third of that F sharp major. So but da 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 da. Then the B major, and then D major. Back to A. That's that C sharp. Then back to F. F sharp minor. Back to D. So that's D. Then the D sharp, E flat diminished. And that just kind of goes back into the third of our A. So there we go. So he likes that little. He likes to do that little move. I don't really geek out too much on his own solos for that. I just kind of take my own time to figure it out. So that's how I would usually approach deal, is playing chord for chord. A major, C sharp dominant, with that harmonic minor sound going into F sharp minor, then A major, D major, then the diminished chord. Back to A. That's the third of the F sharp major set, major chord. So that's kind of the big one. You have to, is that B flat. You got to kind of pay attention to that. So. That sound. That song is a man maker. That'll take a boy and turn him into a man. Put some real hair on your chest there. What distinction do I make between harmonic minor and diminished? I think of them as an arpeggio and its scale. That's an interesting way of thinking of things. It's Craig, right? That's Joy of Chemotaxis. No, I don't think of it quite like that. I think of hi, Craig. The idea is that it's kind of like, okay, like you remember in Stranger Things, there's this our world and then there's the upside down, right? There's this whole other reality that exists on the ideas underneath us, right? The underworld, right? So the idea is running parallel to the concept of the major scale, right? So this whole, right? And it's the 7 modes of it, right? If we take any 7-note gathering of any 7 notes, we could actually create modes around them. Okay, so any scale can be turned into its own chord system like that, where we're going major, minor 7, major 7, dominant 7, like. And when we take the harmonic minor scale and form its modes, okay, we get some interesting chord options. And so one of them is, I think, over the 1 chord in the key of, let's choose F sharp minor here. The 5 chord is a dominant chord, and the 6 chord is a diminished chord. All right, so now we have a dominant chord, a diminished chord, and we also have this kind of ambiguous sounding augmented sound because we've got the major 7 played against the minor triad. So we get this kind of augmented sound. So you can claim either diminished vis-a-vis the triad, the arpeggio rather. So you can find inside of the harmonic minor scale, you can find the diminished arpeggio. Okay. But I tend to think of it as just what am I actually playing over? So in this song, we're playing the diminished chord is over the E flat diminished, right? Which is technically a C diminished, which is technically an A diminished, okay? And it's just technically an F sharp diminished. So we've got the inverting nature of it to contend with as well, which makes most people's heads explode. But when we look at that chord, right, we can see that's an arpeggio, right? But that right there is in theory is functioning, I believe, as the 6th chord in G minor. And if you look, what do we see? We see a D7 with a raised root. All right, so I believe the way it would work is, right, we'd be hearing that, and then I can't remember what the 3 chord is in the harmonic minor scale. All right, but I know that when we get up here, we've got 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that's the 6, and this is sorry, that's the. So what we can do is start to bleed the 5 and the 6 modes and kind of combine them the same way. Sometimes we use some Lydian fingerings over top of a Mixolydian sound, or a Mixolydian scale over top of a Lydian chord, okay? That happens all the time. So we're basically we're kind of examining the idea of playing the harmonic minor over top of this C sharp 7 sound. There's your F sharp harmonic minor. Sorry. Okay, so that's over top of that C, but we could also C sharp rather. So we could also see that as being, that's going to be more seen as Phrygian dominant. And then if we look at those intervals, we'll actually find the D diminished arpeggio in there, right? If we look at those scales, we'll find a minor third here, and here. So all 3 of those ideas can work quite nicely over top of that C sharp sound. We can use all those diminished ideas, the harmonic minor or the Phrygian dominant, okay? What you can't do is play Mixolydian over top of it. It's gonna sound like shit because you need the flat too. You need Mixolydian, you're going to be hearing, and that over top of that C sharp sounds like hell going to that F sharp. It doesn't work. All right, very difficult to understand for me when I was learning it initially. And what I started realizing was, oh, a lot of this stuff is just taking shapes and moving them around. And then I kind of pieced it together afterwards. Now that isn't how I would recommend that for anybody. All right, it is a bit of a Russian doll. Like everything's wrapped up, and it's like one inside of another. So you end up thinking, oh God, there's D sharp, E flat. Okay, but that's also A or F sharp or C diminished, right? So we end up with that fingering, which I don't really use too much. It's too wide. Right? I like that a lot more. So Joey Jam LOL says, what is that? Number 1? That's kind of cool. And there's Brian X Surfer with the nerd. Yes. I'll put on my... yeah. But that's that sound, right? So if we hear that, there's the C sharp. So that's the flat 2, and there's the major 3rd. Sorry. So we'll hear that nicely over top of Deal. Started with understanding that is learning a couple of gypsy jazz kind of ideas over top of that. That kind of sound, okay? A little too much Yngwie Malmsteen back in 1986 probably fed my brain with that sound. More like the brain exploding. Yeah. Oh, that's what is that what that is? I can't see that's how blind I am. The old man can't see the it's a little tiny emoji with its head blown off. Sorry about that, Bryx Surfer. Sorry, I thought it was the nerdy guy with the glasses. This guy, with the little bucktooth thing. All right, so I believe I've got, what do I have cooking today? I think I don't have my first lesson until the afternoon, which is nice. Everybody's canceling on me. Today is, 1 o'clock is my first. So I figured, I'd do that. You appreciate me walking you through all that? I mean, of course, man. That's what I'm here for. I love that stuff. Appreciate me walking through all that. It takes a while to integrate all this knowledge I'm laying down. Your playing is tasty because you voice lead and find the chord tones well. Many dead players just, you can't play scales. Scales suck. Scales are the alphabet. You wanna speak words. You don't want to just go A, B, C, D, E, F, G at me. That doesn't make any sense. So I know that everybody thinks they're going to just play scales. You can't. You might be able to roll scales for a second. You gotta learn how to take something simple, like, I don't know, take a tune that has the same progression over and over again and break it down really slowly. Like, one of the ones that I love looking at is if you take a look at the building section of Tangled Up in Blue by Bob Dylan. If you look at this, 1, 2, East Coast, Lord knows I've paid some dues getting through 2, 3, 4. I don't know why I went backwards there. Let's see about that. Taking that little progression right there and figuring out how to solo from E. Try it again, maybe with more. Again, on and on. 2, 3. There's some hard stuff in there to figure out how to go. And you don't want to hear it like. Okay, that's literally just going through the chord shapes. You want to go like. Section is pretty challenging. I mean, unless you want to go. Just kind of play really basic stuff, right? But when I hear Garcia take that on, man, he just blows right through it. It's fucking pretty amazing. Tough. All right, it's a lot. It's a lot of ground to cover, and you can't David Gilmour your way through it. You cannot do that. If you're gonna play over that E major, I don't know what it is that there's no skeleton key for that. You can't just go, oh, I'm gonna blow E major over the whole thing and hope I hit the right notes at the right time. It just doesn't sound right. You actually have to be thinking about the chords. Any tips or exercises to practice voice leading and playing changes? Yes. Craig, you ask how to practice that. So here's how I would say. You want to think about doing things like this. Let's even stick with our thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, So you would want to take chord changes and chord shapes. So here's that E major. That's a dominant 7. Right? Now F sharp minor. That's F sharp minor. So that's A major into the third of the D chord, something like that. I mean, it's very difficult. I think of it as being a pretty painful birthing process, to be honest. Building lines takes forever, and you have to kind of think about it like if we're going. That whole. That's a nice little move right there. That's A major, more A major, and resolving on the D. Very dense, right? It's fast and it's just relentless. So first you want to figure out how to do the. Okay, so that was F sharp minor, E major, sorry, E major, F sharp minor, A, and D. So that's E. E, F sharp minor, back to A, D, up to E, and something like that. That's really how I'm doing it. Just wanted to give me a shout out, build up the courage to go to a local jams the last 2 weekends in a row, and my lessons have helped you. Jack Brooks, dude, thank you. You don't know what it makes me, how happy that makes me to read something like that. Okay? You got to figure out how to nut up a little bit and like get out there and show what you can do on 1 or 2 songs. Every time you play, you walk away stronger. Especially public performance is an essential part of learning. All right, you're gonna have to. I mean, basically, that brings it back home to where we started out. Is how come my band sounds like shit? What am I doing wrong? What can I tell? Provided you're with the right kind of dudes, can you even talk openly with your bandmates and tell them what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong? All right, so let's talk about voice leading a little bit, right? Let's look at Deal again. That's a good example. We could say, here's our A chord. Try to do it all in one area. So if you can, I wish I could zoom in on my hand. Maybe I can. Can't really do that. Yep. Sorry, now I'm fucking it up. Oh my God. All right, let's see if I can bring this a little closer to you guys. Here's how you want to start to think about these voice leading, okay, ideas. If we're playing A, see how the A has this E note in it, and it's going to come up to F on that second chord. Okay, so rather than hearing, we're going to hear, we're just going to bring these guys down at the same time we add that. So in theory, we should be able to go. And there's our little line, right? All right, so that's A, C sharp dominant, F sharp minor, A, D. Sorry. Okay, that's the E flat diminished chord, but that's inverted. Right, we're taking it off of its off the C note in the diminished arpeggio. That's the root in theory, right? If we're gonna call it an E flat diminished, right? But there are no roots in diminished. That's the part that makes people's heads explode. So we have A, and we're just gonna add as few notes as possible to make it. Oh wow! Thank you. Thank you very much for chipping in, throwing some cash at me. I appreciate that. Dude, Craig, that's really nice. Thank you. I appreciate you chipping in. That is a lovely thing to do. So if we're doing A, C sharp dominant, F sharp, D, A, C sharp dominant, F sharp minor, back to A, to a D chord, right? Back to B7 there, and then D. So if you can play all these chords in this one shape, at one area. That's the first thing you do. Then you bring it here and you learn to do the same thing, you know. Was it? Sorry. Now we gotta get to the B7, D. F sharp to A, D, diminished, A, G, D. Again, you take it up here. Keep bringing it, right? And then it's I never play out of the D position. I'm terrible at this. Anyway, that's how you're going to learn all those chords. And then you want to break them apart. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Maybe a little lick like that. Switch position. F sharp minor, A, D. right? And that is seriously how slow you have to play some of this stuff to get your hands used to where you're going. And just like that, over time, it starts to get a little faster. What I don't like is those 1 minute guitar lessons by somebody who goes, yeah, you take it and just do it like that. And that's the end of the thing. Like, how is that really a guitar lesson? That's just like showing off something stupid. I like to take my time with students, show them a lot of examples, because you never know what way somebody's gonna find their way into a technique or a sound or understanding it. And the truth is that students are kind of like raising kids. You got to be with them a lot. You got to spend a lot of time with them. You got to tell them the same thing like over and over and over again. And now, like when I talk to my son, I'm like, did you hear me or were you listening? He's like, I heard you. And I was like, right. So what's the difference between listening? He's like, listening is doing what you're told the first time. Hearing it is just hearing words going rah, 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 rah. There's a big difference between implementing what somebody tells you to do. So there's a long time until students listen, right? They hear it, but they don't listen. They don't take it all the way all the time. I would rather a student sit down and figure out how to go and really lean into just doing that, all right? Nice and solid, super inside. Yep. Just living right in that one little area, then try to cover the whole neck. There's no reason to do that. Master it here, then here, or learn how to do it all in one little position, then move. Learn to do it, move. Whether or not it's over deal or not, don't worry about it. And last but not least, you should learn how to learn in chunks. Don't try, Craig, here, or who else asked about this? Who asked for, Dino asked for a deal, right? Was that who asked for the deal stuff? Somebody said, hey, can you play a little dealy deal? Where is that? It's up here a little bit. Yeah, so that was Dino Cass. All right, here's how I would ask you, if you were my student, this is what I would tell you to do. Get your looper out, and I would tell you to play this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, A, C sharp dominant, F sharp minor. 1, 2, 3, 4, out, loop. All right, you must put that count at the end. And a 1, 2, 3, 4, practice. Made it to the C sharp, and then make it to the other side of the pool. Okay, now we're... Again. Keep targeting different tones. Bad note. Keep going. over and over and over again, you develop the skill of making the changes in a non-diatonic song. Okay. The thing about Deal that throws everybody for a loop is that is a fucking bucking bronco. Comes right out of the gate, starts bouncing around, and instantly you're like, I'm playing A major. Whoa, what the hell's happening here? Oh, back to A major. Oh, back to A major. Now I'm D. Oh, great, this is gonna be a piece of cake. Wrong. Okay, then I've got I'm back to A major. Oh, whoa, can't hit the A over the next chord. That's a big problem. B flat needs to happen. Then B needs to happen. And then we go up a minor third from there. Good luck. And then back to here. By the way, it doesn't help that everybody seems to think that the song goes to an E major chord after this F sharp minor. It does not. Since it costs a lot to win and even more to lose, not and even more to lose. It doesn't, and even more to lose. That is, it's not in there. It's A major, maybe even like that, you know, and even more to lose. So don't play E major going. Yes, he does not play an E chord. If you look, you'll always see his hand there, and occasionally you'll see him do that, like that thing, but it doesn't really sound very good in my opinion. And even since it costs a lot to win, and even more to lose. It's okay. He doesn't do that. He usually just does that. So I can play all the chords in the song format, but always trying to play lead too. So, well then, the real thing you're going to want to do, Dino, is try thinking about it as playing like the way that they teach bebop is with like a, try to think about it like a walking bass line in a different octave. All right, so that's and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 1. Well, yeah, okay. So Daniel Donato is not. I mean, he's a fine player. A difficult person to learn from, I find. I find that he's not the kind, I don't relate well to the way he teaches, let's put it that way. And I'm certainly not emboldened enough to say that that kid has nothing to teach me. He definitely is a shredder. He knows how to kill, right? He's a great guitar player. That said, I don't really enjoy listening to it. It's impressive, but it's not really my thing. He has done a couple of like YouTube videos. If you look up Daniel Donato talking about Cumberland blues as a matter of fact, all right. So if you want to, you can find Daniel teaching Cumberland blues on YouTube. I just don't really think he's got too much. I think he's probably more of a field player, and he just does things, and he doesn't quite know how to articulate what you're supposed to do. But he's not a teacher, and I wasn't a teacher, and I kind of got turned into one, which was interesting. I wasn't expecting to do that, but the paternal side of me from being a guitar player and a dad came out over COVID when I started making lessons. Because to be honest, I wasn't really making the lessons for you guys, though it's definitely turned into them being for you. I started thinking I would do them so that my sons would have the ability to learn from me in a way that was a little bit more hands off. Because when I come at them and I try to teach them how to do stuff, whether it's hand position or vibrato technique or something like that, you know, it's like you don't want to teach your kid to drive stick. You want your cool brother-in-law to do that. Question about chops and phrasing. Bluegrass and country roots is super helpful. All right, so yeah, but so you've never tried playing country music? Definitely a good starting point is to dismantle like some of the tunes like the Mama Tried songs and stuff, the songs that actually have Jerry's take on country. Or you could go and listen to some Buck Owens. Buck Owens is awesome. Merle Haggard records fucking sound great. There's dynamite guitar playing all over that stuff, Craig. Don't Modern country, I wouldn't count it out either. There's some monster guitar players coming out of that scene. Generally speaking, though, I'm not. It's so overwhelmingly influenced by Danny Gatton and the chicken picking thing now. So whether it's Johnny Highland or Red Vocalert or those kind of things, those players they definitely have monster chops, and they sound great. It's just sometimes it sounds a little. It's not. It's outside of the vocabulary for what we're looking for here. A lot of times, there's a lot of blues and not enough of that major pentatonic. Marty Robbins has some great songs, and Grady, I think, Grady was the guitar player I played with him. He's beautiful musician. So I like a lot of old school country. What I can recommend also is going out and buying that Johnny Cash record called Cash. That first one that he plays on. He plays all by himself. That record was super influential for me because it's like Johnny Cash is in there with an acoustic guitar, and you can basically be his second guitar. You can be his second guitar player. So if he's sitting there going, "The beast in me is framed by boo, but the bo bo," you can sit there and rants and rages from the stars. Gone. I forget how the beast in me goes. Might be out. The beast in me, there it is. It's out of C. The beast in me has had to learn to deal with pain. Some guy says he grew up playing fiddle tunes instead on with guitar instead of fiddle. That's some of the best training you could possibly have, right? So So yeah, ragtime and doing the learning all those bluegrass songs and fiddle tunes. It's great for your alternate picking. It's great for understanding the basis of harmony and how to outline chords, and there's how to utilize flat thirds. I definitely would recommend anybody who's interested in mastering Grateful Dead music to take a long hard look and listen to bluegrass and country music, because there's so much of it referenced. All right, that blues, all kinds of those elements all factor into Jerry's work. So look, I had probably better check in with the world and maybe make some lunch for my wife, who's probably starving. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for popping by this morning and spending some time with me. I hope I wasn't too long-winded. What was I learning the other day? It was kind of a fun tune. Doing a bunch of Jerry band stuff. Looking forward to learning some more of that. It's gonna be fun. Hey, all right, fellas, I'm gonna sign out. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, please think twice about that and see if you want to remedy that. Hitting subscribe and hitting the little bell icon does help my channel somehow. I'm told. I don't know how. But it'll also help keep you informed when I do these, which is totally off the cuff. If I don't have anything going on, I will. Whoa, that's cool. Jesus, that's money. Thank you, Brian. I assume you're Brian, the ex-surfer, or maybe your name is something other than BRYAN. That's really cool. Thank you. Super nice. I never I always forget that there is the option for people to donate and be nice like that. The way I look at this is I'm already doing a lot of teaching because of this stuff. And I can only imagine that there's people out there that are younger and more broke or don't have enough resources to really get good, responsible online tutelage. And I'm getting old and long in the tooth, and it's nice to share that with younger and less experienced, or maybe less comfortable people who have liquidity issues and stuff like that. So, oh, Brian Rex, I see. You're not Brian. You're not Bry ex surfer. You still currently surf. That's nice. What part of the world do you live in, Brian? Old and broke. See, old and broke, young and broke, that works too. The general profile for a Grateful Dead guitar nerd is not somebody that's got a lot of dough. I am fortunate enough to have come from a happy and comfortable financial situation in my days. And my wife and I have worked hard over the years to maintain and have a nice, comfortable life here in Brooklyn and put our kids through school here in New York. And I'm just starting now to really feel weathered and withered by the city and its economics pressure, the pressure of it economically. It is hard. And I will say that the winters and the anger and the hideousness of what's going on in the world is around me. I'm not talking about in a geopolitical way, which is obviously awful in many ways and in some ways kind of deserved. I'm talking about like just New York City has really gotten ugly and mean, and people are just on even more on edge than if you're not from New York City and you're wondering about coming here. Okay, fine. I don't know how to tell you this, but there are it is not what it used to be. I remember when I grew up here, it was dangerous, but all you had to do was not kill anybody and you could go home. Now just like random people that are just there's just no civility at all. Like I was in Whole Foods yesterday getting some groceries real fast with my son. And just like I didn't know that people decided to go for a run while they shop. There are people literally fucking running up and down the aisles. Like, what are you thinking? People just walking backwards without looking. Everybody's got earbuds in and they're completely walking around lost or running like you're there to look out for them. It's a weird, weird situation. What? More people giving me money. By the way, Brian Rex Surfer, why'd you give me $9.99 instead of $10? I just am wondering, is there a psychological thing going on there? Is that like, not to look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm just trying to be kind of a wise guy about it. I always wonder about the psychological side of things there when people won't buy something that's $10, but they will buy something that's $9.99. You hear about that, like what's that Hudsucker Proxy when they're talking about what does this cost about the hula hoop or the. That's such a great movie. I love that film. All right, so closest you got was Rehoboth. That's what came up on the option. Okay, so the path of least resistance is the explanation. Very zen of you. I appreciate it very much. So Okay, Rehoboth is nice. I like Rehoboth. My family and I have been going to Delaware Shore for a long time, down in Bethany Beach, and there was a right or the was it. It's been a while since I played that. Dude, Dina, thank you for chipping in for the repair bill to the ceiling behind me there. Yeah, that's going to be like that for a while because we are going. Well, I still have to come up with the deductible to get the repairs done before my insurance. Because the deductible is like $10,000. So I don't know where I'm getting $10,000 from right now without selling this, which I don't intend on doing. So. That's pretty slick. That little Dicky line. Ah. Anyway, by the way, I used to play drums. Who plays the? I play that drum set. My drummer plays that drum set. My sons both play that drum set. That was rent paid at an old rehearsal spot from the greatest. I love the drummer. And he was moving out of town. He's like, dude, I have an extra drum kit. I owe you $400 for like rental in the rehearsal space. You want a drum kit instead? I was like, fuck yeah, totally. So the only bummer is the color. It's like this weird kind of Christmas green color that I don't really like a kind of hopped up green color. But it's nice. There's like Yamaha maple, like recording custom, like really nice shells. Although I've got to say that over the years I've realized I actually prefer the sound of birch drums, which I never thought I'd be able to tell the difference between boom boom and bam bam. But the difference in the shell does make a big difference. I like the shorter, fatter attack, less sustain of the birch. It was less complex, less overtones, and just fatter and out of your face. But really nice. And then my drummer did not like my 22, which was like back when they were making all the 22s really long, 22 inch, or no, it's a 22, but it's deep. It's like 18 and a half or 18 inches long. Again, the tendency for younger drums now is that they're all these big, deep. They're more concerned about creating all that bass. Man, I like those little 14-inch drums that are not so deep, and the bass gets kind of out of them, and it just like the balance. It's more about the balancing of it, not the presence of so much. Everything sounds so fat, like too fat, not enough punch. So we've got that. That's set up as a 5-piece kit, and I just threw down for some new cymbals, which is nice. I finally gifted myself some real cymbals. I had a bunch of Zildjian A's up there for a while, and I bought them because the kids were learning how to play, and I didn't want to buy anything too thin. So I treated myself to some K's now. I've got 15-inch hi-hats, which I love, and a really kick-ass pork pie snare drum back to their version of a Black Beauty. So drums, man, drums is where it's fucking at. If you can think like a drummer while you play guitar, you sound a lot better. You lock in with the drummer in a way. Like we're playing Cripple Creek, you know, that. When I get off of this mountain. When you play like that, when you're locking in with the drum, boom, 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 ka, boom, boom, ka, boom, 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 boom. Like when you can really do that, man, it's just so much fun to really lock in with the drummer when you're playing kind of in time with them, right? You, the bassist, and the drummer all creating one thing, and then there's kind of the waggle waggle wagga, that flat, like really out to lunch clavinet, Cripple Creek anyway, and then another guitar with the other guy singing in the band, Lawrence, just killing it, and then we just come in and do harmonies to flesh it out, and it's just I love being part of the band. I don't need to lead all the time. Ick. You know, AJ says, "Am I going to go see the brothers at MSG?" I think it's more about money and time, to be honest. It's like for me to go and get a ticket and take the time away from my family is probably not going to happen. I mean, that's just the bottom line. I've got people to feed, and I've got mouths to feed, both from a literal and a financial perspective. So. You'll find. I mean, I don't know if you're a family, if you've got a kid or whatever, but also it's just kind of a haul for me. So I mean, I think it would be a great show. And having seen, I saw Derek Trucks play back when I think O'Teal was playing with the Allman Brothers with him for a little while, and then O'Teal and he were in a band called the Derek. I went and saw Derek Trucks play at. Oh God, what the hell is the name of the place? Irving Plaza, and it was like him and I want to say it was Schofield. Pardon me. So it's a really cool bill, and I can't remember who else was playing that night, but I knew one of the other players. I think it might have been Scott Amendola was on the bill. Maybe that was on another night when we went and saw Soul Live there. But you know, New York back in the I guess late '90s, early 2000s was pretty reasonable. Like you could get around, especially during the weeknights. Like going out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights in the city back when I lived in New York City proper, like Manhattan. Before I became a Brooklyn house, like I own a Brooklyn house, you know. So the idea of going out and seeing talent just down the road, because I lived on 19th and 2nd, so that was literally just a couple of blocks away down to Irving Plaza. Go there and saw Derek. Well, heard him. It was hard to get up close, but still heard him clear as a bell. And the beautiful stuff he was doing was more. It was more. He was actually playing more like Indian stuff. Like it was really pretty amazing, kind of out to lunch. I think he was experimenting with that sound a little bit more than the rootsy bluesy stuff that he and Tedeschi Trucks do. So, yeah. Oh, you bought a 2 concert of Allman Brothers at the Beacon with O'Teal. Yeah, I'm actually not that crazy about O'Teal's bass playing, but oh yeah, the King's Theater is right down the road from where I live. I live just up Flatbush, not too far from there, so a little closer to the Botanic Gardens from there, if that's where, if you're close to that. I could definitely see myself seeing shows there. But the truth is, music is so expensive. Everything just decided to become predatorily, like inflated in New York. It just is terrible. And in particular, all the services and service fees, convenience fees, and the fees. So all these other people taking all the management people that are in charge of the bands. Music used to be something that you could actually go and see for anywhere between like $12 and $30 for a ticket. Now it's like to get a ticket it's insane. I can't imagine it. Like the thought of spending $800 on a ticket to go see the Dead and having to have a hotel and a plane ride to get there. I mean, how am I ever getting out to the Sphere? There's no way I'm doing that. Any more KD gigs coming up in the near future? No, I think I might be able to make my way back to the bitter end with my guys. But I think right now, I think the next time we're playing is out on Long Island, not in the city, and down in the New Hope area. I think we're playing in New Hope for a cancer benefit for a friend of mine, a former student of mine, is throwing a benefit, and has rented out like the band shell from the town or something like that. I think in New Hope, someplace, or I don't know. So that's down in the Princeton area there, and so that's what I have on deck right now, with our drummer with his broken foot, and frankly, I've got a lot of family obligations. I knew I wouldn't be able to have a busy spring because my wife has been recovering from hip surgery, so I better make good on my promise to make her some lunch. All right, gentlemen, I'll catch you around the campfire, I'm sure, and I'll see you. And this was a nice way to spend the morning. It's nice to kind of talk about music, and hopefully I can help be a big brother on the guitar to anybody out there who's learning. If you're old like me, then whatever. We gotta pass it on. We gotta give it. We gotta pay it forward to the young guys. Brian, if you want, you can. I'll always advertise anytime I'm appearing shortly afterwards. Okay. Thanks. The truth is I'm not a focused person when I do these. It's kind of it's kind of like up to the crowd what I'm going to be able to contribute past whatever I come in with my opening salvo of stuff. So it was funny how we drifted from God. We started out talking about me and my uncle. Then we talked about gigging strategies. Then somehow we were talking about Bobby stuff. And all sorts of other things. Deal, we touched on a lot of good things. So hey, my best to everybody. All right, peace, love, happiness, and I'll see you around. Okay, and that's it. Bye.